Well, good evening and welcome to Space Oddities. Thank you for being here. And if you're new here, thank you for being here. You join us in a very sad week for the UK, about which we'll say a little bit in a while. First of all, I'd like to welcome back our illustrious panel. How are we, everybody?
Lovely, thank you.
Very good.
Hello, Andy.
Hello, everyone.
Good.
Hi, everyone.
We're so glad you could join us this evening and on a packed show tonight. We've got a few things for you tonight. Karim has just returned from Armenia from the Starmus festival, and he's going to tell us all about that. We were all very jealous of the multitude of photographs that he's posted on Facebook. Not jealous at all. So anyway, he's going to tell us how that went and what he got up to, what he did on his holiday. Michael is going to tell us a little bit about the DART space mission and a couple of other things, because today is the 60th anniversary of a very important speech in spaceflight history that Michael's going to tell you about. And Bernard, you're going to tell us about the upcoming JUICE mission later, which again is a very, very interesting and important space mission for the exploration of the outer solar system. That's going to be really interesting. We also, of course, have our regular features, Roger's Night Sky Guide, and Rachel's Viewers Gallery. Welcome back, Rachel. Hope you're okay.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, as always. But before we start all that, we're going to go over to Daz.
Yeah, as everybody is well aware now, that last week, very sadly, Queen Elizabeth II passed away. She reigned for 70 years. And in that time, she saw all of the space race. And we've sort of come to nickname her Queen of the Space Age. She was always interested in the science and in the space business. She always showed an interest. And I'd just like to take this opportunity on behalf of the panel to pass on our condolences to the King and to the royal family in this very sad time. But as I said, the Queen, she was always up for a laugh and a giggle, and she was always interested in science. She visited many science fairs, and she attended lots of space fairs as well. And what I'd like to do is just take a few moments to tell you a story, which was pretty typical of the Queen, actually, and also how space can overcome political doctrines, prejudices, and etiquette. And it was when the Queen actually met Yuri Gagarin. Now, of course, Yuri Gagarin was the first man to orbit the Earth. But let's just talk about a little bit about Yuri Gagarin. If people don't know, if any of the youngsters listening don't know who he is, he was before he joined the military. Yuri Gagarin lived on a farm in Russia, and was also a steel worker. In fact, he was a foundryman. Now, this will play an important part in a little bit later. When he joined the military, in fact, he joined the Soviet Air Force. Gagarin joined the Russian cosmonaut program, and he was selected to be the first human in space. His flight took place on the 12th of April, 1961, in the Vostok 1 capsule. He did one orbit, and the flight lasted 108 minutes. And then he returned to Earth as a hero in the eyes of the Russians, because at that time we were in the height of the Cold War, and it was seen as one in the eye for the Americans. And the Cold War was it was really getting hotting up, and you were talking about people were paranoid about Reds under the beds and things like that. Well, after he actually did his flight, he did a second orbit around the Earth, but this time it was a world tour. It started on April the 14th, 1961, and it became probably the most diplomatic mission in history. In the summer, Gagarin reached the UK. His arrival was planned for from 11th to the 15th of July, 1961, as a private visit at the invitation of the National Union of Foundry Workers, who recognized him as one of their own. So again, they recognized that he was just a normal steel worker, so they invited him. There was no actual formal invitation for him to come to the UK. And we'll find out why in a minute. Where was I? Excuse me. Who recognized him as one of them. Great Britain supported the ideas of capitalism, and in the Cold War was on the side of the United States. So the government was negatively predisposed towards the unexpected hero from the USSR. Prime Minister Harold Macmillan personally signed a decree advising not to hold receptions in honor of the cosmonaut. So only the Deputy Minister of Aviation, they didn't even send the full minister, was sent to the airport to officially greet the guest. The journalists were tasked with finding and highlighting Gagarin's shortcomings, but when the Soviet pilot emerged from the plane with a smile, everything went sideways. One of his attendants, Mr. Garmin, who accompanied Gagarin on the tour, later wrote, "The English people took the initiative into their own hands. The streets which Gagarin passed through were covered in a dense carpet of umbrellas. Under the drizzling rain, people waited for hours for the appearance of the Soviet cosmonaut. Londoners greeted Yuri Gagarin with such warmth and cordiality, with such a temperament that they refuted all our habitual notions of English restraint and calmness." The Daily Mail, the first British newspaper to greet the Soviet cosmonaut in a friendly manner, was then followed by the Guardian, the Times, and the Daily Telegraph, which also renounced the official protocol and openly praised Gagarin. Excuse me. To drive around and to do his actual tour, he was actually allocated a silver Rolls Royce bearing the license plate YG1. The pilot went to Manchester, where the headquarters of the National Union of Foundry Workers was located, and where he received a gold medal and a diploma of honorary member of the United Trade Unions of Steel Founders of England. In front of a crowd of thousands of workers and Metropolitan Vickers Electrical Co., Yuri made a fiery speech about the solidarity of people of all countries in space exploration, which was followed by a red flag being erected in Manchester, in the Manchester Town Hall, in honor of the cosmonaut, and the local military band performing the Soviet national anthem. In the British capital, the pilot inspected the Tower of London and received a book about the sights of London. And everybody, there were also postcards of him at the Tower of London, and they were sold out within minutes. The reaction of the British people was so enthusiastic that the government had to literally change all plans on the go. On July 13th, Macmillan invited Yuri to his temporary residence in the Admiralty. At the meeting, the cosmonaut handed Macmillan his book, Road to the Stars, and the Prime Minister presented Yuri with a silver tray and admitted to reporters that Gagarin was a delightful and wonderful person. Afterwards, other British officials did not hesitate to openly admire Gagarin and to ask him for his autograph. But the main honor was still to come ahead. On July the 14th, Elizabeth II herself invited the cosmonaut to Buckingham Palace for lunch. Under British royal protocol, it was not allowed arranging an official banquet in honor of Gagarin in the palace. 5 years earlier, even Khrushchev, was greeted at the royal residence with only a tea party. Therefore, in order to comply with all the formalities, the cosmonaut was invited to lunch. Together with Gagarin's entourage, they were introduced to the Queen in a small room in the palace. When they were introduced to Elizabeth II, later Gagarin again would describe the memorable meeting this way: a pleasant middle-aged woman entering the room, very simply dressed, without jewelry and any traces of makeup. It was the Queen of England. At lunch, served in the white dining room, Gagarin was invited to sit next to the Queen, who listened with interest to his stories about space travel, while Prince Philip discussed with him the technical details of the flight. Now, around this dinner, many myths have grown up. And one of the myths is that it became the custom after Gagarin's visit to, when you drink tea, there's always a slice of lemon in the cup. And Gagarin, in his own Russian way, took out the lemon and actually ate it.
Oh,
and
what a breach of protocol.
And it was a breach of protocol. It was frowned upon. But in respect for Gagarin, the Queen did exactly the same. And it's supposed to have been from now on that everybody, now they have a cup of tea in Buckingham Palace, they eat the slice of lemon. There was also another incident when they were sat at lunch afterwards, that Gagarin, he was overawed by the Queen. After all, this was an ordinary man, a man of the people. And all he ever heard about, the talk of lords, ladies, queens, high officials was all he heard about. And to actually test that the Queen was real, he actually placed his hand on her just above the knee to actually see if she was real. Yes, exactly. Another big breach of protocol. He later explained he wanted to make sure that she was real and not just an animated doll. So again, but the Queen, basically, she just sat there, she smiled and carried on sipping her coffee. He was also overawed at lunch by the plethora of cutlery that was laid in front of him in a formal set. And upon seeing that he was a bit overwhelmed by all the cutlery, the Queen actually said to him, she said, "I've had this all my life and I still don't know which knife and fork to use for which dish."
Brilliant.
So with that, it put him at rest, and he said, "Okay, let's eat the Russian way." And he picked up the biggest spoon he could find and he helped himself to the salad. And with that, the Queen turned around and said, she broke the ice by turning around and said, "Gentlemen, we're all going to eat the Russian way." And they all ate exactly the same way. Now, the cosmonaut, and also in another, because this was not a formal meeting, there were no photographers there, but the Queen insisted on having photographs taken with Yuri Gagarin. But there are no official photographs. The only photographs that would have been taken would have been by the Russian entourage and by the staff actually at Buckingham Palace. But none were never actually
Have you been on the source
so,
again, Dad?
I wish I'd have an excuse. But no
Nurse the
photographs.
screens.
No official photographs were ever actually released. So I was searching for this piece for a photograph, and we found a photograph of a lady, which isn't the Queen, with Yuri Gagarin shaking hands with a very tall man, and the Russians, to try and prove that he didn't meet the Queen, they actually doctored that picture and they put a head, doesn't even match, a head that actually of the Queen on top of the face of this other person, of this other woman, saying that Yuri Gagarin met the Queen.
It actually makes her look like a Thunderbirds doll, doesn't it?
Exactly. It is quite scary, actually.
Yeah, it is. And not convincing at all.
No. The cosmonauts' resourcefulness and charm impressed Elizabeth II so much that for the first time she violated royal etiquette and asked Gagarin to take a picture with her. Those present remembered her explaining it with something along the lines of, "I was photographed with a celestial, unearthly person and therefore did not violate anything." The next day, English newspapers described in detail how the Queen received the guest with all the honours, and subtleties of protocol were forgotten. The country was jubilant, but later on, London, because they turned back, they're back on sort of the capital is the West, would later suffer with because the other countries, the USA, consider them breaking solidarity by offering him such hospitality. However, according to reports, the message of peace that Gagarin conveyed with his flight around the Earth may have helped prevent World War III. Since then, she has traveled to NASA. She's been to America and went to NASA, where she spoke to the crew on the International Space Station. As well as meeting Gagarin, she met the Apollo 11 astronauts, Mike Collins, Buzz Aldrin, and Neil Armstrong.
And there are photos of that.
Yeah, there are photographs of that with her own face. And she's also met the British astronauts that have been into space, and that includes Helen Sharman, who was the first Brit in space, who was, of course, she was female. Always seems to be overlooked for some unknown reason. Michael Foale and Tim Peake, and as I said, she spoke to the crew on the International Space
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Daz. That's
fantastic.
Right. I mean, very interesting, but how times have changed, though, because, you know, the British government thought that people wouldn't be interested in a Russian orbiting the Earth. But the British people were intensely interested and, you know, followed Gagarin wherever he went. But of course, you know, now we've got a war going on in Ukraine, and yet there's still, you know, international cooperation in space, especially the space station. Yeah. So I think times have changed.
I mean, the Queen kept her interest, right? Only a couple of years ago, she was did a teleconference from Buckingham Palace with Maggie Polcock from well, we're going to be talking about it later. The presenter from The Sky at Night. And she spoke to scientists and school children. And when she was asked about her meeting with Gagarin, she said he was a very delightful man and all that. And she said, yes, but what was he like and all that? And she just, with a blank face, just said, Russian. And then she just giggled. So she made everybody laugh.
And talking about her being a queen of the space age, of course, Daz, you and I are both children of the space age, because I know I look a lot younger than you, but we were both actually born in the same month.
Yeah, you may look younger, but I kept my looks.
That, as they say, is a matter of opinion. But we were both born in the month that NASA was formed, in October 1958. So we're as old as NASA, me and Daz.
Yep.
So I think I'll move on. I don't want to dwell on that too much. Anyway, moving on. Bernard, tell us about Juice.
Yes, yes. Thanks again, Daz. That was actually very interesting and
Okay.
It was very
Yeah,
interesting.
sorry about the stutters.
That's fine. It's fine.
So excited.
Yeah, Juice, guys, Juice. I am actually really excited because in 7 months from now, the European Space Agency is going to launch their flagship mission, Juice, that not many people talk about, and I think we need to do it justice. So I've created this really tiny PowerPoint. So I'm going to try and share this with you guys. Hold on a second. Here we go. Right. Can everyone see that?
You need to run the slideshow. I think we can. That's
Yeah. No.
No,
Yes.
no,
Fantastic.
no.
Is this working?
Sort of. We've got the presenter view, but we haven't got the full screen view.
Oh, where's that stupid full screen? Why is that not working again? All right, okay, that's fine. I'm you know what? I'm just gonna unshare the screen.
Go for it.
I'm just gonna unshare the stream and riff my way
next
through.
One, next two.
Yeah. No,
Sorry.
Go to the right. Go to the right. And that's it there. You just got it then. Just before the slider.
This
left
before the slider.
Before the slider.
Oh, yeah, no, I did that, but it goes straight away to this. Oh, I know why, because I have two screens. Hold on a second.
Now, what was I saying earlier?
Hold on a second.
You don't listen, do you?
I am
Share
terribly
the
sorry.
Right screen. I'm going to have to do a tutorial on this.
I'm terribly sorry, folks.
The wonders of live television.
Absolutely. This is what I'm showing. Can you see it better now?
No.
Okay. Use
just talk us through it. Just talk us through it.
Yeah, I apologize for that, viewers. I think we're still learning our skills here. Yeah. Well, look.
We.
Well, you know what? Anyway, so Juice. What is Juice? Juice was born out of a joint program that NASA and the European Space Agency wanted to do 20 years ago. And what they wanted to do, they wanted to send these two probes that were going to go and investigate all the moons of Jupiter. So the 4 Galilean moons: Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. And the US, being the US, they decided that they wanted to investigate. They're going to send their probe to investigate Io and Europa, which, as everyone knows, is really one of the most amazing and interesting moons in our solar system, because it has lots of water. It's one of the ocean worlds, and a high potential of habitability. And so the US decided to focus on Io and Europa, and European Space Agency were going to focus on the bigger moons, Ganymede and Callisto, which lay further out from Jupiter's orbit. And what happened is that as NASA and the Americans were planning their mission, because they wanted to study Io and Europa, and because these two moons are so close to Jupiter and therefore would be suffering from the wrath of Jupiter and the radiation, the costs of having to protect and shield the spacecraft from the radiation increased enormously because of the complexity and the weight. They were going to have to build, more shields and more metallic cases to put the instruments in. And in the middle of I think it was around 2005, 2006, NASA canceled the program. And so the European Space Agency were left. They were going on with their own mission to go to Ganymede and Callisto, and they said, "Yeah, we'll just carry on. We'll go ahead with ours." And so they moved on, and that's Juice, and hence why some people might be wondering why is the European Space Agency sending a spacecraft to Jupiter, because that's what Juice is going to do. It's going to go to Jupiter and it's going to orbit around Jupiter and start to study the moons of Jupiter, but only and primarily Ganymede in particular, and Callisto. It's only going to do one or two flybys of Europa maximum, but it really is going to focus on Ganymede to the point that it's actually going to be orbiting Ganymede for a year. And that's going to be one of the historic moments in space where we're going to be orbiting an outer solar moon. Sorry, not an outer solar moon, an outer solar system moon. So from that point of view, JUICE is going to be amazing because it's going to be not only orbiting Ganymede, but it's also going to be looking at Callisto as well, just doing a few flybys. However, of course, as we all know, America, since after canceling their own mission, Jupiter mission, decided to reinvest into studying Jupiter and decided to launch Europa Clipper. So now we are having sort of a dual mission again, where JUICE is going to arrive to Jupiter, and then Europa Clipper is going to arrive as well. And Europa Clipper is going to primarily focus on Europa as well, on Europa mainly. So from JUICE's point of view, it's going to be launched in April, if everything goes well. In April next year, Ariane 5 is going to launch JUICE, and it's going to be on a very long trajectory. It's going to do 3 flybys of Earth, 1 flyby of Venus. It's going to go 2 times through the asteroid belt. It's going to reach an asteroid called Eros. No, I think it's Eros. I can't remember. Oh, Rosa. Sorry, I apologize. It's going to approach an asteroid Rosa, and then it's finally going to reach Jupiter. Do you go to when? In 2031. It's so long, and it's only going to start. So when it's going to arrive in Jupiter, it's going to start doing various eccentric orbits around Jupiter, doing some flybys of Europa, some flybys of Jupiter, the North Pole and South Pole, just like what Juno is doing now.
And I've just put up an image of
absolutely. Well, that's such a great idea. Yeah, and then it's going to arrive around Ganymede and start to really properly orbit Ganymede in 2034, and it's going to do so for a year. And then once the fuel there's no more fuel, then it's going to crash on Ganymede in 2035. Now, the great thing is that Europa Clipper will be there already. Well, actually, even though Europa Clipper is being launched a year later than JUICE in October 24, it's going to arrive 1 year earlier in 2030. And so at some point around Jupiter, we're going to have these dual missions that are going to be studying these amazing moons. I'd just like to finish off by saying that Europa Clipper is going to have amazing instruments. We're talking, state-of-the-art imaging instruments, spectrometers, UV spectrographers, laser radars, lasers and radars. It's going to just completely characterize those moons, and it's absolutely going to be fantastic.
And that Ganymede image I just showed was an image from Juno. And Ganymede, in case you weren't aware, is the largest moon in the solar system, and strongly suspected of having an underground ocean, global underground ocean. So we've got some great discoveries coming up then, Bernard, hopefully.
Absolutely. And I just like to say it's not suspected, it is confirmed. Ganymede, Callisto, and Europa are 3 moons that have subsurface oceans.
Yeah, they were able to see the libration as they observed with the probe.
Yes, so we're really talking about incredibly important moons in our solar system, and the fact that we're going to be able to not only study them but actually orbit one of them and study it for a year is going to be totally mind blowing from a planetary science point of view. So and that's only it's going to be launched in April next year, so that's going to go very quick. And if you look at the Twitter feed of JUICE, you'll see that they just posted recently some last images, which I was going to show you, but I invite everyone listening just to go to Twitter. Last images of JUICE in the room being finalized, and everything seems to be going very well, and it's a fantastic mission, and I really can't wait to see it launch and go ahead.
It's also worth remembering that Europa, under its icy shell, contains more water than all of Earth's oceans put together, which is quite a thought. So there's a lot of water in Europa. And as you said, Bernard, strongly suspected of being a habitable environment, whether life in some form has evolved there. There have been a lot of questions about whether there's enough energy there, because of course it gets no sunlight under that ice. but I think, you know, if you look at the black smoker environment along the mid-Atlantic ridge, where, you know, you have these volcanic vents, which Europa almost certainly does because of its crust being squeezed by Jupiter's gravity, strongly suspected of having those, and you've got, you know, life existing around the black smokers, not just existing but teeming. It's thriving in, you know, extremely low oxygen environments, in boiling water. So, you know, life, as we know, adapts to the most amazing environments you'd never expect to find it in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you know, it's really, I'm really excited because, of course, my first book was on the ocean worlds, and here we are, finally, a mission that is properly dedicated to go and study these ocean worlds, because we don't have any other mission planned apart from Europa Clipper and JUICE. There's no other mission planned to go to, you know, Triton or Ceres again or Dione or whatnot.
No, absolutely.
So that's really, and even Enceladus. I mean, Enceladus is like such an important moon because, of course, of the water venting out, and also a very high chance of being a habitable environment. And even there, you know, missions to Enceladus just keep on not being selected by a Discovery program or New Frontiers program by NASA. So JUICE is really, you know, at the forefront of the study of these amazing aquatic you know, absolutely, worlds full of water. And actually, on a side note, tomorrow I'm going to Wales because Keith has kindly invited me to do a talk at his astronomy club, and I'll be doing it on the ocean worlds, actually.
Oh, so, fantastic.
So yeah, and it's going to be great fun, and I'm going to meet one of you in person. So there you go. So yeah, if you have any questions about JUICE, anyone, feel free to drop it in the YouTube comment, and we'll pick it up and I'll be able to answer. I did one final note. I did speak to the project scientist at JUICE when I was writing my first book. He was based in Holland, in the European Space Agency's technology hub, where they were designing instruments and all that. And he was very, very optimistic and keen for the mission at the time already. So yeah, if you have any questions, just drop some
in the chat.
Drop it in the chat, and off we go. But yeah, I'm super excited, guys, and I definitely think that, you know, once the launch date is finalized, maybe we can do a special show on that as well.
Oh, that sounds like a plan. And if you haven't read Bernard's book, which is his first book called Ocean Worlds of the Solar System, there we are.
Can we see it?
Exploring the Ocean Worlds of the Solar System. I was just going to get it, actually, but then I realized I'd thrown it away. So, you know, I needed it for the fire. So, anyway, yes, great book Bernard has written on exploring these ocean worlds of the solar system. Highly recommended. It's available on Amazon and other places. So there we are. Okay, thanks for that, Bernard. Really exciting mission. As you say, we've a lot to learn about those worlds, those moons of the outer solar system that we used to think were dead, frozen, where nothing stirred. And that has been a major revelation in the last 10 or 15 years, that, you know, there's activity out there. You know, there's activity even at Pluto, you know, which you would think, well, everybody used to think would just be a frozen lump with nothing interesting happening. And we know that Pluto's got the most amazing processes, geological processes going on there. And there's energy, there's you know, there's activity. So this is the lesson, I think, of the last 20 years in planetary exploration. Anyway, before I ramble on too much, I'd like to go over now to Michael. Michael, what have you got for us?
Okay, thanks very much, Andy. Yeah, I've got a few bits of space news, which I'll try you doing my slides. Oh, I see it. Hang on a minute. I'll get around to it in a sec. Oh, how long are we doing this?
Okay. Well, shall we come back to you in a moment, Michael? You're okay. You got it.
I'm going.
Right. Okay.
Just
okay.
Do that bit there. So
what's all this about then?
Okay. So today is the 60th anniversary of Kennedy's famous speech recommitted the nation to the moon landing goal he proposed a year earlier. This is his speech where he said, "We choose to go to the moon." I don't think it's worth playing it here. I think it was quite well known anyway. But this is the speech at Rice University in Houston, where he said, "We choose to go to the moon," and recommitted America to send astronauts to land on the moon before the end of the decade and bring the crew safely back to Earth. So today's the 60th anniversary of that event. And as we are now trying to, NASA is trying to go back to the moon again, we wait to see if they do. Okay. But another bit of news for this week. A few days ago, the NASA's DART mission, which is their double asteroid redirect test mission, took a photo of the main asteroid that's the target. This is a mission to help determine if intentionally crashing a spacecraft into an asteroid with an effective way that is an effective way to actually change its course. It was launched in November 2021, and it's the collision is planned for only a week or so's time on the September the 26th. The target asteroid is actually a moonlit asteroid of Didymos called Dimorphos. And that will happen on the 26th of September. And a few days ago, the spacecraft took its first photo of Didymos. And there we are. Not much to determine, unfortunately, from that photo, but it's as we can see, it's actually on target to get to its final destination.
So this is going to ram into Didymos.
Yep.
To see what effect it has affecting its trajectory.
It's the target is actually Dimorphos, which is Didymos is a small moon, and to see if that crash will actually make any difference to the asteroid's orbit, and see whether it will be deflected into a different path around Didymos, basically. And if that does work, it could be the answer if we ever saw an asteroid actually coming to Earth in the future, and that could be a possible scenario that NASA and the space agencies could use to perhaps redirect it away from us.
So I think I'm right in saying that it's actually two spacecraft, isn't it? One to ram into it, and the other one to observe to see what happens.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's being launched on Ariane 5, isn't it?
It was launched last year.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And the actual September the 26th. This month is the intended date for the collision.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Any idea what time of the day it happens, Michael? Because perhaps we could do
not at the moment. I'll have to find out that.
Yeah, if you could find out, because perhaps we could do a live event here, a live stream.
Yeah.
Daz?
Yeah, there was on YouTube earlier today, about 4 o'clockish. There was a update on the JUICE mission. Not the DART mission.
Yeah,
DART mission. Sorry, I was just reading the links on the DART mission. So if anybody wants any details, it's probably just to look on the YouTube and just look for the NASA live DART updates.
Right,
it's an hour long.
Yeah, just go to nasa.gov and follow the links on the news page on the front page, or just do a search on NASA for the DART mission. So it's a double asteroid redirect test mission, which is what DART stands for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Another bit of news that only happened today. Blue Origin turned up in the news today. Their New Shepard spacecraft, New Shepard launch vehicle rather, managed to suffer an anomaly during the launch today. The space capsule was actually an uncrewed space capsule this time, carrying experiments, I believe, up to past the Kármán line just into space. But the booster itself actually exploded as it was going through max Q. But in true Blue Origin and NASA style, if you like, the mission was heralded a success, because the rockets that for the launch escape system actually came into play. And this is a picture taken from the video of the event, where you can see the rockets, boosting the space capsule away from the main booster, and they recovered the capsule okay in the desert. So good that the actual escape system worked, and possibly good that there wasn't any actually humans on there this time.
And I think that they were phenomenally lucky that they got to test the escape system when there were no humans on it. I mean,
how easy is that? Exactly. Yeah.
I wonder if it'll put people off flying on it.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't want to to put some bad vibes here, but obviously with the rate of SpaceX and Blue Origin and others starting to launch more and more tourists, there's bound to be at some point a mission where they're going to have to abort and they're going to have to come down. It's just a matter of time. That's my impression. So, but it's it's great that the systems work for Blue Origin. Let's see if it's going to work for SpaceX.
Although apparently I was reading that they fire a retro, if you like, just before landing.
Yes, that's right.
Apparently that didn't work.
It didn't. Okay.
No, the capsule had a really hard landing.
All right. So
I don't know how true that is. I'll have to confirm that.
Perhaps it was good that there are no humans on board.
Well, yeah, they were doubly lucky, really. But space travel is getting safer, but it will always be a dangerous business.
It's still hard.
And it will always be hard. Forget Star Trek. Floating around in luxury, even if they haven't got any toilets.
What do you mean they don't have toilets?
Have you ever seen anybody in Star Trek say, "Excuse me, sir, I'm just going to the toilet"? No. They've been genetically engineered not to. That's why by the 23rd century.
I've never seen that in James Bond, Star Wars, or any other film.
No.
Well, to be honest, Star Trek is meant to be portraying an accurate view of the future here, and it's a future without toilets.
Okay, I think we'll leave that there.
Have you ever seen any signs?
I like Star Trek, so
have you ever seen any signs on the Enterprise saying to the gent?
Okay, just a bit of other news then. Before we get bogged down.
Bogged down, very good, very good.
Okay, just another couple of items. James Webb Space Telescope. We haven't had any new images this week from the telescope, but the US Postal Service has issued a new stamp for the James Webb Space Telescope last week, and it was dedicated in a ceremony at the Smithsonian National Postal Museum in Washington.
That's lovely.
That's available now. Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just one more thing.
Sorry, there is one more thing, isn't there?
One more thing. For those of you in the UK, the BBC Sky at Night programme is on tonight at 10 p.m. 2200 BST, and it's all about photographing the universe. So that should be an interesting programme to watch at 10 o'clock tonight.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much, Andy.
Pleasure. Daz, did you want to say something?
No. I just we've got a lot to get through tonight. So
right. Okay. So I think I'll just if you could just stop sharing your screen.
Sorry.
Yeah. Thanks. I just want to, before we go over to Rachael and Roger for their weekly spots, and you can see they've got weekly spots. I just wanted to say a few words about the latest data release from the Dark Energy Survey. So just stepping back a bit, in case you're not familiar with what that's all about, back in the late 1990s, it was discovered, astonishingly, that distant supernovae far off in the universe were fainter than they should have been if our understanding of the expansion rate of the universe were correct. And basically that meant that the galaxies that those supernovae are in are much further away than they should have been if our understanding of the expansion rate of the universe is correct. Now, nobody quite believed these findings at the time, not initially, but they've been confirmed by other methods. And what it basically means is the universe's expansion is not slowing down, as one would, I think, had fairly generally been assumed up till then, but the expansion of the universe is actually accelerating. And looking at the data, about 6 billion years after the Big Bang, the universe's expansion, which had been slowing down until that point, suddenly started to accelerate. And when I say suddenly, we're not quite sure if it was literally suddenly or, over how long a period of time it happened. But something happened 6 billion years after the Big Bang that caused the expansion of the universe to reverse its deacceleration and to accelerate. Now, it's fairly well accepted, therefore, that there is something that is causing that expansion to accelerate. And it was given the name dark energy, dark as in unknown, rather than anything literally dark. And it seems to be something that we don't have a clue what it is, basically. It could be a particle, it could be a field, it could be, we don't know. We don't really know. Now, one of the ways in which dark energy has been explained away, because the theory has its detractors that it exists, and they say, if you accept that gravity was of a different strength in the early history of the universe, if the strength of gravity has changed over time, that completely accounts for dark energy. And let me just share my screen. So there has been an international effort shared between many scientists and observatories all around the world to examine the galaxies way back in time across the universe. And this is called the Dark Energy Survey, and it is made up of lots of telescopes all around the world. And their goal is to look at 300 million galaxies and measure the strength of gravity as it was billions and billions of years ago. And they've just released this, I think it's their second data release. They've now looked at 100 million galaxies, and they have come to the conclusion, almost incontrovertibly, that the strength of gravity has not changed throughout history. So that does not account for dark energy. Gravity has always had the same strength. It hasn't varied over long periods of time. And what this means, of course, is that dark energy is a real phenomenon. We don't know what it is. It has the characteristics of Einstein's cosmological constant, which is a fudge factor he put into relativity to make it seem as if the universe is not expanding at all, which he didn't believe. He later called that the greatest mistake of his career. But weirdly, dark energy seems to have the characteristics of this mathematical trick that Einstein used to eliminate the expanding universe that he wasn't very fond of. So we don't know what it is, but the Dark Energy Survey is on the case, and they hope eventually to understand exactly what this mysterious force in the universe is that's causing the expansion to accelerate. And that's it for the Dark Energy Survey. So, any questions about that? Please, as ever, put them in the chat. We'll now move on, I think, to Rachael. Hi, Rachael.
Hello.
I hope you've got some lovely images for us in this week's Viewers Gallery.
I have. It's a nice little small gallery this week, so I will show you. Okay. There we go. Should be full screen now.
That's great.
Okay, so we're starting off with Lee, another regular who's swooped in
Hi,
with
Lee.
a nebula that I want to say is in Cassiopeia. Just going to go with it. I'm sure it is. And Lee's wordy bit was he likes this because it sends him back to his youth whilst endlessly playing Pac-Man on his Atari, getting blisters from the poorly designed joysticks.
And they were in those days. Joysticks were horrific in those days. It was easy to get blisters.
And Lee's shooting from Cornwall. So here we go. Here's
very nice.
Very nice. That is
really
beautiful, Lee. God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
And then we have one from Roger. We've got the Bode's Galaxy M81. Because Roger likes to. Roger does everything. Moons, you name it. Galaxies, he's got it.
Very nice.
Wow. Oh, that's beautiful.
Do you know, I don't think I've ever really seen it on its own. I always see it with the cigar galaxy. So it's nice. Instead of saying M81, M82, it's just M81.
Do you like that one, Roger?
It's not bad.
Ignore him.
It's a lot nicer than anything I've done of it, Roger. It's lovely. And then
just another clear night of imaging.
Yeah.
Just another one in the bag, Rog.
We get them all the time.
We've got one from Kev next, if anybody wants to place their bets now. It's solar. And it's another prominence, but this one is actually with a difference. He's processed the prominence in red against a monosolar disk to accentuate the marvelous structure of the prom, which is, I think, one of the best he's seen for a long time. So here we go.
Cool. Look at
So
that.
yeah, I think it's definitely different seeing prominence
beautiful.
in red and leaving the sun in monochrome. It just adds a different feel. It's very Halloween to me. Some blood splatter.
Oh, nice. CSI. Here we go. No, that's fantastic. I mean, that's a lovely arch.
And one to finish. Don't know who these guys are. Which is a North American nebula in Cygnus, and I think this is about 2 hours 10 minutes of integration time, I want to say. So this one's by me and Johnny, and
nice.
it's a
North
American nebula. But I feel like somebody's told me, and I've never heard this before. Obviously this is the Cygnus wall. I don't know if you can even see my cursor, but somebody said at this orientation it's known as the water buffalo. And you can kind of see it when you've got a more cropped, a sort of a zoomed out image. You can kind of see the head like here as if it's turning with its horns and things, but I've never heard it before, so I need to go do a little bit of research on that. And that's it. That's our short, snappy gallery this week.
Right. Thank you for sending in your images. Please keep them coming in. We love looking at them, and I'm sure Rachel has put the address to send them to in the description.
I have.
Now we have a gentleman who's been on his travels rather a lot. Karim, what have you been up to?
Hey, Andy. So I spent the last 10 days traveling to, from, and being part of the Starmus Festival, which has been incredible. Celebrating 50 years of exploration of Mars as a theme, even though we had a lot more different content than that. And I was able to help out with the outreach for star parties in Yerevan, Armenia, and at the Temple Garni. Unfortunately, I don't think we have the time tonight. There's a lot to go through, and I don't want to miss out on our weekly features with Roger because there's an incredible, wonderful amount of planet and moon behavior coming up this week that we know our viewers want to watch. So I think we're going to have to wait till next week for the Starmus overview. I do have it ready, but I also want to stick to our 1 hour.
Okay. Would you just like to give us a brief idea of what Starmus actually is?
So Starmus was a festival created by Garrick Israelian, who's an astrophysicist, along with Brian May, who's an astrophysicist and the guitarist for Queen, and Stephen Hawking. So this was the brainchild from the three of them. It was an idea to bring together the way in which astronomy and music coincide, and how a lot of astronomers and astrophysicists really do have a creative side to them as well. So now it's branched into some visual arts as well, movie making, sculpture, painting. And so what we've been doing at Starmus over the last bunch of years is trying to find ways to bring together top experts in the field, Nobel laureates, astronauts, heads of projects from NASA, from the ESA, from the Chinese Space Agency, cosmonauts, you name it, and bringing these individuals together, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, astrobiology, spectrochemistry, have them deliver content in different regions of the world, but make it accessible to anybody who wants to attend. It blew my mind when I saw the lineup of speakers, and then getting a chance to meet and talk to some of them in person was mind blowing. And then having my daughter and my wife there with me, Tara got to speak to astronauts. She got to speak to astrophysicists. She got her picture taken again with Chris Hadfield 4 years later.
Yeah, I saw that. Amazing.
Just getting to experience her talking about her journey in astronomy to these individuals who started at that age or later. And then my wife Karima being able to be part of this type of an event, watch her daughter be part of the star party. And she does work in AI when it comes to voice over recognition and working with, design of things with Microsoft and Nuance. And so talking to some of the heads of quantum computing and artificial intelligence institutes at Max Planck, and being able to converse business in a space conference was just, it was wonderful. And
I bet
Armenia,
that was mind-blowing for her.
It was, but I think the biggest takeaway is Armenia, I had no idea what to expect. Like, I'd read a few bits on blogs and travel sites, and the people are wonderful. The food is incredible. The architecture's just your eyes pop when you see some of the things that they've created, some of the things left behind from when the Russians had taken over the Armenian area. And then you see the way they've come back from some of the turbulence, the Armenian genocide, the taking of land from them, and you see their spirit in their songs. And we had Armenian artists sharing their songs. We had ones who were expats who came back to perform. We had Emmanuel Charpentier, the one who developed CRISPR-Cas9 technology and won the Nobel Prize for it. She has Armenian ancestry, and so she was coming back home. And so to hear her, like, just the tears in her eyes. And Brian May had led that whole rock aid for Armenia back in the late 20th century, but had never come to Armenia. He'd never actually been able to come.
Never been.
So this was his first time in Armenia, and they awarded him with the first of the Knight Stephen Hawking Science Communication Awards, with the words of Stephen Hawking starting out that award ceremony. And that was just, it brought tears to everyone's eyes.
Wow. So how many attended this event then?
Delegates, there were over 500 international, closer to about 1,500 international, and then about in the thousands in terms of Armenians. And then we had a lot of students from the local schools and universities who volunteered. And what the impact is the speakers that they bring also go to these schools, and they deliver lectures at the schools specifically to their audiences. And so each school had a Nobel week, had an astronaut week, had a space exploration week of these, can you imagine being at college and you're told, all right, from 11 to 12, you get to sit back and listen to Kip Thorne. You get to sit back and listen to Jean-Jacques Dordain, and you get to sit back and listen to Bernard Schoeffler, who is one of the world's leaders in artificial intelligence and understanding the difference between correlation and causation in programming machine learning and how that applies to categorizing types of galaxies. I mean, it literally, the level of conversation, it was insane. And then in the evenings, you run into musicians and astronauts and Nobel laureates on the streets and in restaurants, and it was just, it's something to be experienced. So I have 25 to 31 slides on just a taste of it. And so that gives viewers a reason to tune in next Monday.
Absolutely. And we'll go right through it next Monday, because I can't wait to see them. I've seen your photos on Facebook, but on a mobile screen, it's probably not doing the most justice.
I'm going to take 1 minute. Sorry, Roger, but Dean has been asking for a constellation story. And I do want to mention that late at night outside the Temple Garni, the Pleiades rose. And as the Pleiades rose, I put one of the big Dobsonians on it to talk to people about the Pleiades from different cultures. And they came to me and they said, we don't call them the seven sisters, we call them the seven virgins, because it's very important to recognize that the Greek mythology that has the seven daughters of Atlas and one of the protectors of navigation place, their daughters were being hunted by Orion. Orion really wanted to catch them and have them. And so the fact that they call them the seven virgins is to point out that Zeus protected them and turned them into doves and moved them up into the sky so that they would be safe. And so it's part of this protecting culture that they have, where they really do try to protect the youth and protect the young and those that are vulnerable. Unfortunately, one thing that I did find was it doesn't extend to mobility issues. And so I will point out a few of the insane staircases that I had to go up and down to try to get to some of the locations because they don't have mobility access.
Well, I'm sure comments will have been made about that, and the festival will think about that in the future.
It's not the festival; it's actually the country, and
yeah.
You hear there were actually several people who came up to me that said that it inspires them to see me walking with a cane and being on my feet at a star party all night, because they know that it's possible, and that here in North America we support that accessibility of the night sky.
Sure. So Orion never got his virgins then?
Orion still is chasing them to this day. Every year you'll see him chasing them through the night sky.
You'd have thought he'd given up by now.
It's a wonderful twist on an otherwise common myth, the Greek one, where it's especially apparently Armenia and Turkey and Azerbaijan, they all share this interpretation of the seven virgins.
Right. Interesting. Very interesting. Well, thanks for that. That was great. So we'll look forward to it all next week then, Karim.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, lastly this evening, Roger, what's up?
Right. Well, what's up indeed? Let me see if I can do my screen sharing properly this time. Are we full screen this time?
Yes, we are.
Oh, good. Right. So this week in space for the moon and the planets, the 12th to the 18th of September, 2022. Okay, so the moon is gradually getting up to its third quarter on Saturday. And this is what it looked like last night. During another clear night, I might say.
Another winner, Roger.
Yes, another winner. And after that, during previous nights, I've managed to get a tiny little Mars, and the little prominence here is actually Syrtis Major. So hopefully with the opposition coming up later in December, we'll be able to get a better view of that.
Up there on the right side, just above the equator, is where I am right now.
Okay. Here we have Jupiter and one of the moons, Io, and the great red spot just disappearing off around the corner. And not last but least, a little Saturn to
that's great.
And these were all done in the last few nights. So there we go. Cool. So we obviously now what I'm doing is from midnight now, because all the planets are becoming much more obvious with the darker nights, and so Mars is now rising up. We've got the moon causing a little bit of chaos up there with the light pollution, but Jupiter and Saturn are still reasonable, although Jupiter is much higher in the latitudes to we normally see of Saturn, unfortunately.
When does Jupiter reach opposition? It's soon, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, it's coming up fairly soon.
26th, September 26th.
It's the closest approach in 60 years. I was reading today. I don't know whether that's true or not, but that's what I read. Yeah.
I think it's 12 years.
Now there you are then. Perhaps I shouldn't read the sun.
But during Wednesday, the moon is near Uranus. And on Saturday, it's near to Mars. But this Friday, the 16th, we've got Neptune at opposition, so that might be worth a peep at.
Worth a punt, yes.
So as we can see, Mars and the Moon quite close together, like they were with Jupiter a night or two ago. So that worked quite well.
Yeah.
And should anyone be in the southern hemisphere near Australia or wherever, we've also got the planets, but fortunately for them, they get a much better viewing of Jupiter and Saturn in the night sky, being that much more well placed, unfortunately. So,
and can I just take this opportunity to say a big welcome to viewers in the Southern Hemisphere. Thank you so much for being here. I say that because for our last program, according to YouTube, the city in the world with the most viewers, or the place in the world with the most viewers, was Jakarta in Indonesia. So you're welcome from Indonesia. If you're with us tonight, thank you for being here. Fantastic.
Somebody's asking in the chat as well, Roger, what scope you use for your moons. I know you used obviously the Williams Optics Z126, but I wasn't sure if you used that for deep sky and your moon.
For the moon, I just use a Williams Optics GT71, and obviously for the deep sky objects, well, the galaxies and stuff, that's with the Williams Optics Z126, and the planets I use the Celestron C11.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay, so
Well
that is what we have for the night sky.
That's it. Okay, well, that just brings us to the end of tonight's show. May I just say, if you like what you see here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you know when we're going live next. And your subscription is very important to us, and your likes, because it helps the YouTube algorithm recognize our very existence and allows us more flexibility in what we can do in the future. And obviously we're trying to build this channel. Tell everybody you know, and tell everybody you don't know. Get the phone book out and start ringing. That'd be my advice. So, the more you can spread the word for us, if you enjoy what we do, we'd be grateful for any word spreading that you could do. But your subscriptions and likes are much appreciated. So thank you for that. We will, of course, be back at the same time next Monday at 8 o'clock UK time. And we'd like to thank you very, very much for being here. Have a fantastic week. Take care of yourselves. And Daz wants to say something.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Andy, will we be on next week with what's going on in the UK?
What's going on in the... Oh, it's the funeral, isn't it?
Yeah.
Funeral next Monday. Bank holiday Monday.
Right. Well, I don't see any reason why not, because I'm sure we'll have lots of views.
No, I'm just wondering.
I think it's important that we keep that date with our viewers.
Yeah.
So, so yes, we'll be back next Monday, and on a very sad day for the country, for the Queen's funeral.
It will all be over by then.
Yes, it will be over by then. But it will be a very sad day for the UK because, many people who aren't pro monarchy are still deeply affected by this because, she's been queen for all of our lives.
Yeah.
And, we don't remember another monarch. So it will be a true a very sad passing of an era next Monday when the Queen is laid to rest.
It's also the case that the night sky gives us a little bit of solace when we do have a tough day or when we have something going on like that, because it's the one constant that you can kind of look out to and enjoy and appreciate that it's the same all over the world. We all get to share it. So
thank you, Karim. That's absolutely right. And I personally find that there's nothing that recharges by batteries rather than being under a dark sky. And I'm sure everybody feels the same because it is truly inspirational. All right, thank you, viewers. Your presence here tonight is greatly appreciated. We'll see you next week. So from the panel,
Bye.
bye. See you next week. Bye.